is, I have been asked the same question over and over again. When are you going to make the jump to the main roster? Well, OC, I would like to formally welcome all three of you to the main roster. NXT is and always will be the show, and more importantly, NXT will always be Daddy's home. When you look back at moments in 2019 that really made you say, oh yes, I love professional wrestling, it's going to be that promo right there from Tommaso Ciampa. It's going to be that line in his promo tonight while the OC, AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows invaded NXT. What an awesome, awesome line. Absolutely loved it, and I'm loving this Survivor Series build this year for 2019. This is NXT right here on Off the Script, Wednesday, November 6th, 2019. We're going to go over everything that happened on the show, including that OC invasion of NXT at Full Sail, what they did to the Undisputed Era, and what led to a great six-man tag team match right before WarGames, and what's seen on Monday Night Raw, the fallout from Monday Night Raw with the OC stepping up and saying, you can't come to Monday Night Raw and do whatever you want. We're going to invade Full Sail University, man. So I loved NXT last night. Awesome show as always. And we're going to get into it right now, right here on the podcast. I got to mention this before I even get into whatever I got to talk about. I did my review of AEW Dynamite last night. And I woke up like I do every single morning, and I have my cup of coffee, and I look at the comments, and I look at the analytics, and I look at all the stats from the video last night. I sit and I read, and I look over the comments, and it just boggles my mind, man. It really just boggles my mind how people are just so weird and bizarre. I had one guy tell me last night that he didn't watch the entire podcast. He didn't watch the video at all after I had stated that I thought AEW Dynamite was... I didn't say it was the worst show that they put on. I just said it was the dullest show that they put on since the debut on October 2nd. I genuinely and honestly think that they've put on better shows than they did last night. I didn't think that the show last night was bad at all. I thought it was a very good show. For a go-home show, I enjoyed myself. Much more than I enjoyed myself on a Monday Night Raw or Smackdown go-home show. No question. But all I stated was in comparison to what I think we got in the weeks that we've had the tag team tournament and all the weeks that we've had with great in-ring action, I honestly thought that outside of Cody Rhodes and his incredible promo, the video package with Chris Jericho mocking Cody's video package from a couple of weeks ago, and a huge brawl, a fun brawl, that really sold the point of Full Gear on Saturday at the end of Dynamite last night, I honestly thought it was a dull show. We had a very good match with Pac and Trent Beretta. We had nothing more outside of that. And I sat there and I said, in comparison to everything else that we watched with Dynamite so far in the first 5 weeks, I thought it was the dullest show. And you would have thought that I committed verbal suicide with what I stated last night. People were like, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're so out of touch. Oh, you said it was the dullest show and I refused to listen to anything else that you had to say in the podcast last night. People are mental. People are mental. I don't get it. So you're not going to watch the rest of the podcast, even though I went in and praised and gave constructive criticism over the show, like I usually do with any wrestling show that I watch. It's as if people blame me for this, and I never understand why. I don't block people over a difference in wrestling opinion. I block people because they are fucking vulgar to me on social media and come at me personally over a scripted television program. But when people tell me that they're not watching the podcast after I say something that they don't agree with, you're not watching it based because or based off of because you don't agree with anything that I'm saying and you refuse to hear other people's opinions. So when I hear people tell me, oh, you don't really respect other people's opinions, you block others based on their opinions, you refuse to listen to anybody else's opinions, I get it done back to me. It is unbelievable, man. It's as if you guys are making a big deal over nothing. It's a fucking wrestling program. And you're all out there, oh, AEW was better, oh, NXT was better, oh, AEW kicked NXT's ass tonight. NXT was better than AEW tonight. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? I gave my constructive criticism like I would always do on anything that I do here, and then I gotta get it thrown back in my face. It is downright laughable, man. So next time, guys, calm the fuck down. Let me do my job. If you don't agree with me, fine. You don't have to make it as if it's the fucking end of the world here on YouTube. Who gives a shit? It's a 2-hour wrestling program, and I'll see you guys on Saturday for Full Gear, which I'm expecting to be a great show. Because I seen this morning, Matt and Nick Jackson were tweeting, who's ready for Full Gear? Full Gear is going to be crazy, and I can't wait to see what they do. NXT tonight. We're going to go over everything that happened on the show. Loving the Survivor Series build. I think it's awesome. This is the first time in a very long time that I'm excited for the Survivor Series. I have not been excited for the Survivor Series in full in many, many years. I actually go back and watch older Survivor Series pay-per-views from the late 90s and in the Attitude Era and even in the early 90s. I loved the 1993 Survivor Series from the Boston Garden. That was the Foreign Fanatics versus the All-Americans led by Lex Luger and The Undertaker. That's what really started the Undertaker-Yokozuna feud going on into 1994. Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the best on the microphone at color commentary. That was a star-studded fucking all-star night for him. He was absolutely hilarious, especially during that Jerry the King Lawler and Bret the Hitman Hart, or Shawn Michaels, I should say. It was supposed to be Jerry Lawler. That Knights versus the Hart family extravaganza that was in the 1993 Survivor Series. I have not really gave a shit about the Survivor Series at all. And I love that WWE is going about it in a different way by including NXT this year. And we've seen the WWE main roster, at least with AJ being one of the more respected members of the main roster, invade NXT last night. And it really felt special. It was really something great. And I love that it wasn't overbearing. I love that WWE didn't overwhelm you with a lot of main roster talent last night on NXT. They took 3 guys who took it to heart in the OC, and they just planted the OC in Full Sail University on this 2-hour NXT show, and they did not look out of place at all. And it was just a great sight to see, not because it was a situation where they didn't look out of place. These 3 guys are 3 guys that bypassed NXT. So for them to bypass NXT and go to the main roster and then have them show up invading NXT, there's something of a fucking great feeling watching something like that happen. So I'm really loving this build. And who would have thought Monday Night Raw is the worst show of the fucking week? Of course it is. They got the invasion all wrong. It felt completely forced. Rhode Island absolutely fucking shit all over that show, so they were no help either. But Monday Night Raw, they did it all wrong. SmackDown, coming out of the Crown Jewel fiasco with the Travel Nightmare, it was an unexpected show. They absolutely fucking killed it. They delivered it on every aspect. It was the best SmackDown of 2019. Monday Night Raw sucked. NXT got it right back on track. Great show with the OC in the main event, and it didn't feel out of place. And I love the fact that NXT didn't overwhelm you, like I said, with a bunch of main roster talent. Like, you're not seeing these fucking nobodies come and defend Monday Night Raw. You just took 3 guys who are the OC, who think they're the shit, who took everything to heart, and they said, you know what, you want to come to our show? Well, we're the OC. We're going to show you what it means to invade. And I thought this was awesome. So we're going to go over everything on what I thought was a great NXT show last night. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Twitter's also a great way to keep up to date on what I'm thinking, when I'm thinking it, what I'm thinking during these live shows. So Twitter's also a great way to just interact with me, and it's a great way to keep yourself notified as well, because everything that I upload here gets pushed to Twitter as well, so you guys are notified there as well. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos that I did this week. Going back to this weekend's Off the Script, episode 298, we are nearing 300 episodes of my flagship podcast coming up in a couple of weeks. Awesome stuff there. Make sure you guys check out Monday Night Raw, where we got Adam Cole and Seth Rollins, and the show still flopped. It was so bad. They tried an NXT invasion on the show, and Monday Night Raw just makes everything, including NXT, just feel lifeless and boring. Go check that out if you missed it. We got Off the Script Elite on Tuesday, and then we did Dynamite last night. Make sure you guys go and check out that review of the Go Home show right before Full Gear. We got NXT today. We got Smackdown tomorrow. We got Off the Script this weekend. Tons of stuff coming up for you guys. But if you missed anything so far, links will be down in the description of this very video. Make sure you guys go and check all of that out. And if you guys want to support the podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/JD from NY206. I want to make sure you guys are aware everything that I do here in video format, you guys get in audio format over on the Patreon page. I never hide anything behind a paywall for you guys. If I do, it's going to be something completely different that I would not even experiment and do here on YouTube. I never put anything behind a paywall. You guys are not paying for extra content. It is merely there if you guys want to support the show and support what I do here, week in and week out, 7 days a week. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And the podcast today is brought to you by Audible, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go and check out Audible and get 30 days free of their service and 1 free audiobook of your choice. I've been pushing Mayor Kane. This book comes out in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be listed retail price at $29.99. Glenn Jacobs has a new book coming out. Mayor Kane, My Life in Wrestling and Politics. This book is hitting Audible. You guys could use our link if you are a big enough Kane fan. It is hitting Audible in audiobook format. It is close to 8 hours of narration by Glenn Jacobs himself. You guys could use our link and pre-order it right now and get that book for free. That is an awesome deal if you are a fan of Glenn Jacobs and Kane and want the stories of his wrestling career and the stories of how and why he got into politics. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Over 200,000 choices to choose from if you guys are not interested in Kane's new book. And if you guys don't like the service, you guys can cancel at any time in that 30 days and still get to keep whatever audiobook you chose for free. Guys, it's a great deal. It's a great way to support the show. audibletrial.com/offthescript. NXT started off last night with Mauro Ranallo and him giving a breaking announcement that earlier in the evening, the OC started their invasion of Full Sail and NXT. Tonight, we see AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows outside near the production trucks of Full Sail University, destroying all 4 members of the Undisputed Era. Excellent attack on the Undisputed Era. Bobby Fish was thrown into one of the production trucks, and it looked like blood had splattered on the production truck while he was lawn darted by Luke Gallows. Luke Gallows then chokeslammed him through the catering table that was conveniently set up on the outside. Titus was not a part of this, though. He has apprentices roaming around Full Sail. Then they make their way to the ring live, and we see some poor production guy standing by the ringside area. He gets blasted and thrown into the steel steps by AJ Styles. I love heel AJ Styles, man. He is awesome. So much better than a babyface, but I could actually say that about everybody, but AJ plays the dick and the heel so brilliantly. AJ gets the microphone and he says, "So, this is NXT." And I mentioned in the beginning that AJ Styles had bypassed, in 2016, joining NXT. He's been on record saying, with all honesty, he said that if it was up to me, I would have actually gone to NXT just for about 6 months to a year to learn, the WWE way of life. It's a very different beast coming on over from Impact or New Japan Pro Wrestling and then jumping right into the WWE way of lifestyle. So he actually stated that he would have loved to go to NXT, but he was big enough and Vince McMahon seen him big enough to just go directly to the main roster. So being the fact that we have these 3 guys who bypassed NXT now here invading NXT, I thought this was very special. So obviously he came out and immediately said, so this is NXT. The Undisputed Era tried to take over Raw because they wanted a war. Well, we are bringing the war to you. Why not? All of your champions are now out of commission, meaning the Undisputed Era, because they carry all the gold. And the OC is taking over NXT. That is just not phenomenal. That is undisputed. There you go. The battle lines have been drawn by the OC. When you start saying shit like that, the battle lines have been drawn. Out comes Tommaso Ciampa. Full Sail's chanting Daddy's home. And he utters, for years, I used to be asked the same question over and over again. When are you coming up to the main roster? Well, OC, allow me to welcome you three to the main roster. NXT is now and always has been the show, and more importantly, NXT happens to be Daddy's home. If you want to stand in an NXT ring and claim to be taking over, boys, I have a problem with that. AJ then says, do you really think the three of us should be worried about you? I gotta admit, you are the only person here with big enough balls to do and say anything. Out comes Matt Riddle. Out comes Keith Lee. They join Ciampa, stand side by side with Ciampa. Ciampa then says, well, it looks like we've got plenty of balls. Ciampa says that we are preparing for Undisputed Era at WarGames, but tonight, boys, you might as well put your gear on. Obviously meaning a six-man tag is looming. AJ Styles wastes no time. He gladly accepts the challenge for a six-man tag in the main event for NXT tonight. Awesome opening segment to NXT. I love the fact that it wasn't overwhelming. They didn't overdo it. They hit all the high points. And with Ciampa's line about NXT being the main roster, you know, when are you going up to the main roster? Well, let me tell you something. And you're looking at the United States champion. You're looking at somebody that we look at on the main roster as one of the more respected guys, probably the most respected guy outside of Daniel Bryan on the main roster right now, and that is AJ Styles. When you say that to him and it reverberates with everybody, there's only one other man in NXT that is allowed to say what Tommaso Ciampa said here tonight about NXT being the main roster, and that is Johnny Gargano. This was awesome. I loved everything about this, and this alone gets you excited for the rest of the show, and this is just the best possible way to declare a war on NXT and the main roster. Have them go at it. This was awesome. I loved everything about this. We go from that to Pete Dunne and Damien Priest. This is the open to NXT this week, and this is actually a rematch from a couple of weeks ago where Damien Priest used a low blow on Pete Dunne and got the cheap victory. Both men went for their finishing moves early. Priest went for the reckoning. Dunne went for the bitter end. Priest went for a chokeslam. Dunne with an elbow. Priest with a big roundhouse kick. All missed. Both guys at a stalemate. We go to commercial. During the commercial, Dunne kicks Priest's arm off the ropes and started to target his left arm. It was the picture-in-picture type deal. So you've seen Pete Dunne working on the arm, which leads Pete Dunne from working on the arm, and then obviously he transitions to the fingers. So that was his game plan here. Dunne, back from commercial, is on the defensive. Priest is in control after a huge flatliner. Falcon Arrow, he goes for a 2 count. Pete Dunne comes out of the corner with a brutal-looking armbar. Priest then tried to counter a suplex. He couldn't. Dunne delivered an X-plex. Dunne at this point absolutely destroying Priest with some stiff kicks. I would not expect anything less from Pete Dunne. Priest rolls to the outside, and Dunne with a moonsault off the second rope to the outside on top of Damien Priest. Dunne rolls back into the ring, only to roll back outside. He went for another moonsault off the steps. Priest caught him with a chokeslam on the apron to the small of the back. Back in the ring, Dunne somehow battled back with a sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. He then went to sell the chokeslam on the ring apron. So he no-sold it, and then he got a sit-out powerbomb, and then he started to sell the back, which should have been him selling the back from the get-go and then delivering the sit-out powerbomb, if you even want to go that far. So that was kind of odd in my eyes. More kicks. He went for the bitter end. Priest with that roundhouse kick that he missed in the beginning. finally connected with it. Dunne rolls to the outside. Priest with a step up off the second rope flip to the outside on Dunne. And then we go to a second commercial. Damien Priest is very athletic for a guy his size. To see him do something like that and do it very fluidly is a great sight. So he did that step up off the second rope flip on to Pete Dunne on the outside. We go to commercial. Back from the second commercial, we see both guys start kicking each other in the face at the same time. Both guys are down. Dunne with a headbutt to the face. Priest with a lariat. Dunne tried to go up top. Priest caught him in a razor's edge, a crucifix bomb for a 2 count. Priest motioned for his bow and arrow. I don't know what he was doing, if he was taunting Pete Dunne, if he was just being a cocky prick. He did his bow and arrow signature. Dunne caught the fingers in the middle of the bow and arrow, and he shoved him into the corner, but conveniently the referee got squished. He got planted into the corner. Now the referee's trapped in the corner. He's got his back turned. He's just looking to get out of this thing without, being harmed. So the referee has his back turned. Dunne with the fingers at this point. Priest tried to get off of this hold that Pete Dunne has, and he tried for the low blow, but Pete Dunne caught the boot, and Dunne delivered his own low blow. So he kicks Priest below the belt, applies a brutal-looking armbar, and Damien Priest immediately tapped out. Very good match. Both guys work very well together, and Pete Dunne gets his victory back over Damien Priest. I don't think this is over at all. I would love to see these guys go at it again, so we'll see what happens there. After the match, it certainly seemed that Damien Priest was not done with Pete Dunne. Killian Dane comes out of nowhere, attacks Pete Dunne. Priest stopped Dane from attacking Pete Dunne, only to attack Pete Dunne on his own some more. Dane throws him to the outside. So Killian Dane gets a big splash and a Vader bomb on Pete Dunne. And then Morrow says this line, "The Great Dane is on the hunt." Gotta love Morrow, man. Priest tries again, and he tries to go after Pete Dunne again. Dane throws him this time on the outside into the steel steps, followed by a fucking cannonball into the steel steps. Killian Dane doesn't give a shit, but that was that, and Killian Dane asserted his dominance not only over Pete Dunne, but also Damien Priest as well. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we get a tag team match out of it. Maybe we get Tyler Bate back on NXT TV and Pete Dunne teaming against Damien Priest and Killian Dane. Could be the next natural progression in this ongoing feud between Pete Dunne and Damien Priest. Now with Killian Dane involved, no better partner than Tyler Bate to come on in and have your back. Taynara versus Santana Garrett. Santana Garrett, I know, has been signed for a little bit. I was very much looking forward to seeing her debut on NXT. She was actually in the Mae Young Classic. She really surprised me in the Mae Young Classic. She was awesome. I actually had the opportunity to call some matches for her in House of Glory as well in the women's division. So she's definitely a standout and someone I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on. This was not as bad as what people made it out to be on social media. I was looking at my Twitter feed last night during Dynamite on TNT, and people were making fun of this particular women's match. I don't know why. It wasn't the smoothest. It wasn't the greatest women's match that you'll ever see. It wasn't even the best women's match on the show. But this was not as bad as what people made it out to be. Taynara, if you guys watched Taynara work and have watched her work and seen her progress, she's actually getting a lot better. And she's getting a lot more physical in the ring, which I always appreciate. And that's exactly what you want to see in an already stacked women's division. So she's using this pretty much. She don't want to get buried and lost in the shuffle, because it's very easy to get lost in the shuffle with the amount of talent right now in the NXT women's division. Taynara is getting better, and she's getting more intense and more physical. She's standing out, and she definitely has a great look to her. So I'm glad to see her coming along, and I see that progression on her, and I really appreciate that. Santana Garrett is very good. Well, I don't know what else to say about Santana Garrett. She was a competitor in the Mae Young Classic. She impressed me then. I also had the chance to call one of her matches, like I said, against Sonya Strong in House of Glory a couple of years back. They played up on commentary that Taynara is looking to impress to get herself that last spot in the women's WarGames match, Survivor Series weekend, because right now, at this point in the show, it was only a 3-on-3. Both the heel and babyface teams have yet to choose their final partner for the WarGames match, and commentary played it up as if Taynara was really showcasing herself to probably get on one of those teams. So Taynara actually picked up the victory here with a step-up knee strike, and Santana Garrett loses her TV debut, quote-unquote, main roster, or I would say, I guess it's not really the main roster, but the main NXT TV debut for Santana Garrett. This is not the first time she's been on NXT, but this is the first time that she's been live on NXT for this brand. Taynara gets the victory with a step-up knee strike. I thought this match was solid. I thought it did its job. Taynara got the victory. Usually Taynara is in a position where she is putting others over. And Santana Garrett, this is her live TV debut. She took the loss. So they got that albatross away from Santana Garrett, and now they could focus on her, just building herself up from this point on. Taynara looked great. Santana Garrett looked good on her TV debut. Nothing more, nothing less. Taynara gets the victory here over Santana Garrett. We go from one women's match to another. Dakota Kai versus Shayna Baszler. Love both of these women. The reason why this match is actually happening is because Kai doesn't have a spot on either team. Now, Shayna and Kai, they went back and forth after Shayna said that Dakota Kai would be a wasted pick for both her and Rhea Ripley on their respective WarGames teams. So Kai obviously took this to heart. She took this to be a disrespectful slap in the face by Shayna Baszler, but what else would you expect from someone like Shayna Baszler? And Kai is out to prove that she deserves a spot on Rhea's WarGames team. So Kai, starting this match, a little too cocky for her own good. She got very cocky against Shayna Baszler. She got herself very comfortable, hit a punt kick early on. Shayna rolled to the outside to take a breather. So she's walking around on the outside. Dakota Kai gets on the apron for another punt kick while Baszler is catching a breather on the outside. She catches the punt kick, does Baszler. She takes Kai's leg and launches her right into the steel post, face first. She goes down to the floor. Kai makes it back in. Baszler unloads on her knee, stomps the knee with the knee brace on it. So Shayna knows what she's doing here. And she continues on the leg. We go to commercial. Back from commercial, Kai is trying to fight back, favoring the injured knee. Always a good thing to see, selling the knee injury. And Shayna is such a submission specialist that she's going to pinpoint a weak point, and she's going to attack that and make that her priority in her matches. She hits a drop kick for a 2 count. Does Kai. Goes up top. Shayna catches her up top. And Shayna up top, second rope with a super gut-wrench suplex. Very nicely done for a 2 count. Both women now trading blows in the middle of the ring. It was a great thing to see Dakota Kai finally just unleash that physicality and that intensity that I knew resided in her, man, for at least a good 20 seconds. Back and forth with Shayna, trading blows. Roundhouse kick by Shayna, forearm by Kai. Shayna in the corner. Kai goes for her big roundabout punt kick, big boot in the face finisher. She goes for a finisher, and Shayna catches her with a boot, retaliation style to the face. Both women are down. Kai with some kicks to the face. Shayna comes back with a jumping knee to the chest. Kirifuda clutch applied by Shayna. Kai got out of it somehow before the hold was fully applied. And Kai charged at Baszler. Baszler then eventually catches her, drops her into the Kirifuda clutch. Fans are chanting tap, and that's exactly what Dakota Kai did. She tapped out very quickly. After the match, the horsewomen attack Kai. Out comes the rest of the WarGames crew that is going to be taking part in the women's WarGames match. Chaos all over again, just like last week. Out of nowhere, Mia Yim starts swinging a kendo stick on Shayna's crew. Crowd went absolutely crazy for this. She goes over to Dakota Kai to check on her. This was great. It played up the fact that Mia Yim has not forgotten about Shayna Baszler at all in the brief history, the brief little interaction that those two had a couple of months back. And Mia Yim wants that final spot on Rhea Ripley's WarGames team. So this was very nicely done. Wasn't overwhelming. It didn't overstay its welcome. It introduced Mia Yim to the fold, and she looked as physical as she's ever looked. And I really enjoyed this. And if you're going to add Mia Yim after this type of display, I'm not going to really fight you on it. She looked great in this segment with the rest of the women. Kathy Kelly is with Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle. She asks about WarGames, and Ciampa said, one thing at a time. Who's going to be your final partner? Do you have anybody in mind for that final spot on your WarGames team? Ciampa said, one thing at a time. The Undisputed Era will know about WarGames and my partner when the time is right. Regarding the OC, Ciampa says he and the others left the front door wide open for them, so let's get it, boys. That was pretty much it. We go from that to Tony Nese and Angel Garza. This was a number one contender match for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, they did announce the Cruiserweight Championship match will be taking place next week on next week's Go Home show. I believe it's the Go Home show, right? I'm not really sure. I think we got 1 week left for the entire build for Survivor Series. But, no, it's 2 weeks. I'm sorry. We got 2 more weeks. Because next week, this coming Saturday is Full Gear. Then next week, we got the House of Glory show that I'm doing in Queens. And then after that, it's Survivor Series. So, we got 2 more weeks for Survivor Series weekend and WarGames. Now, they mentioned that the Cruiserweight Championship was going to take place next week. The winner of this match would fight Lio Rush next week. I don't necessarily like that decision. I think crown a number one contender, build between challenger and champion, and then put this match on TakeOver. That's what I would do. I think Lio Rush would thrive in front of a TakeOver crowd. I think Angel Garza is the fucking man. Angel Garza is great. He just has it. Why not put him in front of a TakeOver crowd? I don't really understand that decision. I would much rather see that in front of 13,000 people than 400. I think those guys deserve it. I think it's about time we start getting the NXT... Listen, we made the jump from the NXT Cruiserweight Championship being renamed the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. It's now an NXT Championship. You're going to fight whatever you got to do on 205 Live, and then the NXT Championship is going to be defended on NXT, and it should really bleed into takeovers as well. You can't be leaving matches like that off of a takeover card, especially when you got 2 WarGames matches happening, and a possible Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor at that show. Why not add a Cruiserweight Championship? I think it would be awesome. Tony Nese is great. I love Tony Nese. I think he's awesome. Angel Garza, you guys know how I feel about Angel Garza. More of Angel Garza, please, on these shows. He's awesome. So we all know Tony Nese looks fantastic. Obviously, when he's in the ring with somebody, he's going to show off his incredible physique. He's going to flex, show off how great he looks. Angel Garza has been known early in his run here on NXT, and coming out of the breakout tournament, which he was eliminated in the first round, which I don't understand why. It's like everybody out of that tournament is getting some shine, except Jordan Miles. Now you know why. So Angel Garza, early in his run, has been known to take his pants off. He's got these long pants that he wears, and he makes the ladies scream. He unzips them at the sides and takes them off like he's jumping out of a fucking wedding cake at some bachelorette party. Garza went to take off his pants after watching Tony Nese flex. So Nese chopped Garza, and Garza was asking for more. He's like, come on, is that all you got? So Tony Nese went to go chop him some more. He unzipped his pants, but his pants were not completely off at this time. So both men end up in the corner with Nese up top. He's sitting up top. Garza hits a step-up enziguri from the floor to Tony Nese sitting up top. Garza clings up to Nese on the top turnbuckle. He's looking for what I think is a superplex. Nese slips through Garza's legs, and he goes for a sunset bomb off the second rope. And he ends up delivering a sunset bomb to Angel Garza's pants, because in mid-stride, when he tried to sunset bomb Garza, he actually pulled his pants off and sunset bombed Garza's pants. I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years, and I've never seen anybody deliver a sunset bomb to a pair of pants. We've seen Ric Flair elbow a jacket. We've seen Ric Flair drop a knee on a jacket. I've never seen anybody sunset flip bomb a pair of pants in the middle of a ring. So there's always a first, and this is definitely a first. So we go to commercial. That was it. We go to commercial. Back from commercial, Garza's in control. Garza with a big drop kick as he goes on and sends Nese out to the floor. Garza with a wrecking ball drop kick to send Nese back down to the floor. Garza goes up top, hits a big moonsault. Crowd's going crazy. Garza brings it back in, ends up hitting a backbreaker for a close 2 count. Garza with a beautiful lung blower climbs up top. Nese up with an uppercut on Garza. Garza falls to the apron. Nese knocks him back down to the floor, and he delivers a tilt-a-whirl DDT on the outside. Back in the ring, Nese goes up top. 450 splash. Garza got his foot on the rope, and I mean barely, he barely got a fucking big toenail on that bottom rope. Referee stopped the count. So now we got these two in the middle of the ring. Slugfest by both in the middle of the ring. It ends up being a stalemate. Sit-out powerbomb by Garza for a 2 count. Moonsault by Garza. He missed. Landed on his feet. Garza catches Nese in what Morrow called a wing clipper. Beth called it an angel's wings. I don't know what it's called. I don't give a shit what it's called. It looked great. Angel Garza gets the win, and he's now the number 1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship. I think Garza and Rush deserve to be on TakeOver, but we're getting this match next week for the Cruiserweight Championship. When they eventually square off next week, they're going to kill it. I can't wait to see what those two guys produce in the middle of the ring, and I hope that they get ample time to do so. Lio Rush comes out. Garza's on the stage. Lio Rush comes out. He goes to shake Garza's hand, and he tells Garza that he's looking forward to the match next week. Garza, with that dick-like smile, that very pompous attitude, he legitimately slapped the taste out of Lio Rush's mouth, walked away smiling. Rush did nothing to retaliate. He brushed his face, and he smiled back at Garza, and that was it. Very much looking forward to the match next week for the Cruiserweight Championship. I don't think that Garza is going to win, but being that Garza has been on a string of momentum lately, I would not be at all angry if Angel Garza won the Cruiserweight Championship. They just moved him to 205 Live, I believe, as well. But Lio Rush just won the championship. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least, next week for the Cruiserweight Championship. Kathy Kelly's backstage with Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Candice LeRae, and Mia Yim. Ripley confirms at this point that her 4th team member for WarGames will be Mia Yim. She loved how Mia Yim handled herself, and the kendo stick obviously was the defining factor in Rhea Ripley making this choice. Yim says that she's been fighting all of her life. She was surprised by this. And at WarGames, she is going to help her team collect some bodies. Ripley apologized to Kai, who looked very distraught and very upset. And she didn't make the cut. Rhea said she didn't make the cut. Kai said something under her breath. I did not really figure out what she said in that moment. She walked away, held down her head, and she was just very disappointed. And that was pretty much it. Ripley said to Kathy Kelly, "This, Kathy, is my team for WarGames." Isaiah Scott versus Dominik Dijakovic. We got this match here for the co-main event, I believe. Right before the main event went on with the OC, Ciampa, Riddle, and Lee. Isaiah Scott is fucking fantastic. I need more Isaiah Scott on this show. I can't wait to see what he does as he grows, as he matures on NXT, man. The guy is fucking great. Dominik Dijakovic has opened a lot of eyes as of late with his feud with Keith Lee and just him doing things that a big man should not do. This was an awesome match. Action was fast right from the get-go. Dijakovic slowed the pace down as he got some offense on Isaiah Scott, who is known to fly, who is known to be very quick and use that high offensive moveset. So Dominik Dijakovic really grounded him and slowed the pace down to his liking. Isaiah Scott leapt into a flatliner and was quickly mounted into a comeback after the flatliner. Swerve draping DDT for a 2 count that absolutely dropped Dijakovic on top of his head. Looked brutal. Dijakovic crotched Isaiah Scott on the turnbuckles. He went for his finisher. Swerve countered Feast Your Eyes the first time, and he rolled Dijakovic up for a close near fall. Morrow even thought it was the end of the match. Swerve at this point with a ton of high-risk offense. Dijakovic stopped him with a high kick, a chokeslam into a sit-out powerbomb, and Dijakovic went for a near fall, only got a 2.5. Swerve countered yet another attempted chokeslam into a reverse Rana on Dijakovic, and when I say he planted Dijakovic, man, it is always scary to see a guy like Dijakovic and the size of Dijakovic take that spot. He absolutely planted him in this poison Rana. Rolled to the apron, did Dijakovic. Swerve followed with a double stomp off the top to the apron on top of Dijakovic. Back in the ring, it looked like Dijakovic delivered a lariat and Swerve completely no-sold it, but it was actually Isaiah Scott who delivered a lariat on Dijakovic and quickly got up. So they were both back on their feet quickly. They were countering each other when Isaiah Scott went for a roll-through into an attempted flatliner. Dijakovic caught him in Feast Your Eyes, and this was the second attempt at that, and Dijakovic didn't miss it this time. Dijakovic hit the Feast Your Eyes, covered Isaiah Scott for the pinfall, and that was pretty much it. A showcase match between two guys who are definitely going to be the future of NXT. This was awesome for what it was. Isaiah Scott is awesome. More of him, please, on this show. And Dijakovic really opening a lot of eyes. You know, that feast your eyes thing is not really just a gimmick anymore. He really wants you to feast your eyes on what he's got to offer NXT, and he's really shined in the 2-hour format. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, if you're looking at somebody that's taking the 2-hour format and using it to their best advantage possible, using it to their maximum potential, it is Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic. So these guys are just living it up right now, taking the 2-hour format, and they are making the most of every minute that they are given on TV, and this was great. Main event time. Couldn't wait for it. This was awesome. It delivered in every way. The OC, Styles, Gallows, Anderson versus Ciampa, Riddle, and Keith Lee. It's amazing, man, when you watch someone from the main roster join NXT for the night down at Full Sail, how much different, how much better they look. The OC looked great. They did not look out of place. They did not look out of place at all. So everybody made their ring introductions, their ring entrances. A huge brawl erupted in the beginning of this match. Riddle on Styles. More Riddle and Styles, please. I would not mind at all. I don't think you guys are going to mind more Riddle and Styles. Gallows and Anderson on Ciampa and Lee. Ciampa and Styles then start this thing off after the referee finally regains control. The intensity of this is exactly what you needed to see, being that NXT invaded Smackdown. They invaded Raw. AJ Styles showing the intensity of how frustrated he was with NXT coming on to his show. These two erupted, and this is the intensity you need to see based on what we've seen so far with this invasion of NXT showing up on the main roster. So Riddle took a bullet for Ciampa when Styles hit Riddle with a phenomenal forearm to the floor on the outside. Ciampa caught Styles coming back in the ring with Widow's Bell for a 2 count off the middle rope. Lee and Styles momentarily were in the ring before he tagged out to Luke Gallows. This was fun. Watching Luke Gallows and Keith Lee in the middle of the ring face off. Crowd was chanting for Lee, bask in his glory. This turned into one of those battles. What do they say? The irresistible force versus the immovable object. Keith Lee and Luke Gallows charging together like two big bulls. Stalemate. Until eventually Lee sent Gallows out of the ring with a huge pounce. It was like Keith Lee was powering himself up, and on that final one, he pounced Luke Gallows out of the ring. Anderson tagged in, trying some with Lee. He was yelling to the crowd, bask in whose glory? So you gotta love Carl Anderson. It's amazing, man, how these guys look like losers on the main roster, and here they are in NXT on one night, and they feel great. They look great. That ended with Lee hitting a running crossbody on Carl Anderson. We go to commercial break. We see the split screen, and during the split screen commercial, the OC was beating down Ciampa, so they were getting heat on Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa was building that heat up until that eventual hot tag. So Ciampa, during the break, was being beat down by the OC. When the show returned, he was still being beat down by the OC. He tried for a tag, but Anderson came in with a beautiful spine buster to stop that. Got a 2 count on Tommaso Ciampa. It built towards Anderson, leaping off the middle rope. Ciampa, in a desperation attempt, jumping knee strike on Carl Anderson. That turned the entire match around, made the hot tag to Matt Riddle, and there's nothing greater than a hot tag that the crowd is completely invested in. This crowd went completely apeshit when Matt Riddle got that hot tag. So he got the hot tag. Riddle came in, exploded on the OC, cleaned house on the OC. Suplexes, brotons, final flash knee. The offense that you love and expect from Matt Riddle. I've said this once, and I'm going to say it again. Matt Riddle, if you're looking back at 2019 when we get to the end of the year, who is up there on NXT as having the best match quality in NXT in 2019? You could say Adam Cole. I would not argue with you if you said Adam Cole. You could say Roderick Strong. I'm not going to argue with that either. You could say Velveteen Dream. Not going to argue with that either. He's probably the last on my list, but I got to give it to Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, out of everybody on the NXT roster, has had the best in-ring year, match quality in-ring year out of anybody on the NXT roster in 2019. The guy is fucking made for superstardom. If WWE finds a way to fuck this guy up, there's no hope in this company. There really is not. He is awesome. Suplexes, brotons, final flash knee. Matt Riddle, bro to sleep, and a German suplex that led to a pinning attempt on Styles. More of this, please. Eventually. It's a WrestleMania match on NXT on USA. Right there. Riddle and Styles, take my money. Gallows jumped in to break up the pin after Riddle tried to pin Styles. Anderson and Gallows went for the Magic Killer on Keith Lee. That would have been something. Ciampa made the save. Lee with Gallows. Lee was legitimately, he picked him up in a power slam position and he was doing fucking squats with Carl Anderson in a power slam position. Unbelievable. So, at that point, we had Lee showcase his strength on Gallows. This all built towards Styles getting an earful on Riddle after a beautiful brainbuster. Styles went for the Styles Clash, countered by Riddle. Riddle rolled through on an attempted phenomenal forearm from Styles. Lee then rushed in to wipe out Styles with a pounce out of nowhere. But the move also took out the referee at the same time. And the referee, the senior official, I forgot his name, took an absolutely brutal landing off of a bump or a pounce by Keith Lee, man. Something I never want to be on the receiving end of. So he was absolutely blasted off Keith Lee's pounce. Chance of holy shit because the referee went down. The referee took a bump out of the ring. He went to the floor. Lee took Anderson to the floor with the clothesline. Riddle went up for the Fosbury flop. And he usually hits this perfectly, but he did not clear the top rope. He did not clear the top rope at all, and he took a nasty bump on the apron on the way down. It didn't look good at all. It looked very sloppy. Ciampa hit Styles with a running knee strike. Ciampa was seemingly going for his finisher. He was interrupted by Finn Balor and his music hitting the PA system. Balor walks out to the ramp. A distracted Ciampa fell victim to the dumb babyface syndrome that plagues every babyface in WWE. So obviously he was distracted by Finn Balor. Out of nowhere, AJ Styles with a Pele kick. Balor strode down to ringside. He gave Riddle the 1916 DDT on the floor, but this was not as brutal as the one he gave Johnny Gargano. Obviously, I was paying closer attention to this because Gargano was fucked up during that 1916 that he got from Finn Balor. Balor this time wrapped Riddle's head in his leather jacket when he took it off, and then he planted Riddle with the 1916 on the ramp, but Riddle was protected by Balor's leather jacket. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I did. So, Balor and Styles locked eyes. Balor was doing the guns, and AJ Styles was doing the too sweet. So, obviously, that's a play off of their both individual Bullet Club history. That is an epic tease in itself. And it just goes to show you that with the invasion here, with whatever else you got going on, with WarGames, having the OC invade Full Sail was the absolute most perfect choice that you could have chosen out of anybody on the main roster. It just worked beautifully and intertwined beautifully with what you had going on already with the main event scene right now for WarGames and NXT. Beautiful. Styles shifted his attention back to Ciampa and went for a Styles Clash. Suddenly, Adam Cole comes out of nowhere, and Adam Cole has had quite the week. Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, and now in the ring with AJ Styles. Adam Cole ran into a moment here in the ring where he super kicked Styles. Cole had bandages on, selling the beating from earlier, which was a nice touch. Cole delivered the last shot to Ciampa, had a stare down of his own with Balor, while Balor still stood on the ramp, and that's the way the show closed this week for NXT. Awesome. So the match ended in a no finish. Nobody was declared the winner. You don't want to make your babyface team going into WarGames look weak. You're not going to beat the OC here because the main roster has been on the receiving end of an NXT beatdown now for 2 straight shows. So even though the OC didn't get the victory, the OC still looked strong, and it ended up being Cole and Balor, and Cole and Ciampa, focusing on the NXT Championship. So the match ended in a no finish. The angle was great to close the show. Balor caused the distraction. Adam Cole did a run-in. Yeah, he took out Styles, but his focus was on Ciampa primarily. Referee took a nasty bump, so nobody was there to officially rule the outcome of this match. And the match itself was great. Balor teased reuniting with Gallows, Anderson, and Styles. You know, with the formation of the Bullet Club again in WWE. Cole's run-in didn't have anything to do with anything regarding the OC. It had more to do with Tommaso Ciampa than anything in the NXT title and their WarGames match. This was a great way to close the show. And I think WWE has been hitting a solid home run. It's not some big fucking 500-foot blast, but they've hit a solid home run here with the Survivor Series build and this invasion of NXT on the main roster, and then having the OC brilliantly come in and be the ones to invade Full Sail. I'm excited to see what's going on. I'm excited to see what's coming next. Is NXT going to show face on SmackDown Friday? I don't know. What is WWE going to do on Monday Night Raw? I could give two shits, because Monday Night Raw ruins everything. Nothing was exciting coming out of Monday Night Raw. I'm not surprised. But we got a couple of weeks left for the Survivor Series build, and WWE is doing a very good job at building excitement for Survivor Series. This is the first time in a long time that I'm genuinely excited for the Survivor Series, and it's in Chicago. And you know Chicago's going to bring it at the Survivor Series and at WarGames, no question. Now, with Dynamite and how I felt about Dynamite last night, still a good show. I never said it was a bad show. NXT, great show. I would be shocked. I don't know if WWE, I didn't really pay attention on social media in the hours leading up to NXT last night. I don't know if WWE made an announcement. I know they teased some main roster involvement on the show. But when people got wind of the OC and AJ Styles, predominantly AJ Styles on NXT, I wonder if that is enough to inch NXT closer to AEW in the ratings. Now, it's going to be more interesting than the previous weeks because we had no World Series. We had no Game 7 drawing 23 million viewers away from AEW and NXT on Wednesday. It's going to be interesting to see how the ratings look this week coming out of these shows compared to the last couple of weeks. I would be shocked if NXT does not inch closer to AEW in the ratings. And if they don't, I don't think they ever will. You're either sold on this Survivor Series build or you're not sold on this Survivor Series build. You're either excited for guys like AJ Styles and the OC to join NXT for a night only and mix it up with guys like Riddle and Ciampa and Keith Lee. You're either interested in that or you're not. I would be genuinely shocked if NXT does not inch closer to AEW in the ratings. Because right now, I think NXT has more momentum. Yes, they had a go-home show on Dynamite for Full Gear. Full Gear is going to be fucking great. I know it. They've delivered the last 2 times on pay-per-view. I expect no less for Full Gear. But I honestly think with the interesting aspect of NXT mixing it up with the main roster and these fantasy dream matches coming to be, and WWE going about it in a very nice way so far, I would be shocked if NXT doesn't inch closer to AEW in the ratings. It's going to be interesting. We'll find out. Anyway, I love this episode of NXT. I thought it was awesome. Let me know what you guys think down below. And I will be back on here Friday for SmackDown. We'll see if NXT makes their presence known in retaliation on SmackDown. And Survivor Series build is off and running. I'll be back on Friday for SmackDown, guys. Make sure you guys check out Monday Night Raw, Off the Script Elite number 6 from Tuesday, and AEW Dynamite last night as well, if you're interested in that type of thing. And I'll be back on Friday for SmackDown, and then this weekend for Off the Script episode 299. Hit that thumbs up, guys. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And if you guys want to go check out Audible and get yourself that new Glenn Jacobs, Mayor Kane, My Life in Wrestling and Politics book, 7 hours plus of Glenn Jacobs narrating his own audiobook. Go check it out. Audible.com/offthescript. Guys, thank you so very much. Hit that thumbs up, and I will see you right back here on Friday for Friday Night Smack. I can't wait. Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns. I can't wait. Awesome. Said nobody ever. See you guys then.